Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Daily Palantir live stream 0023. This is the 23rd episode, the Michael Jordan episode of Daily Palantir live streams. And so we are live and we've got a lot to discuss. Let me just pull up a couple of things real quick, and then we're going to get a little bit more deeper into everything that we have going on. There's a couple of unique things I want to talk about, especially given some of the price action we saw today. And then a couple of deals I also want to talk about. Two major subjects for today. Number one is going to be selling Palantir and what it would take to kind of sell, what my philosophy is on selling and how I basically think of it, given the prices run up now. And a lot of people are asking a little bit more about what are you trying to do in regards to selling it. And then second is this ontology argument that Sham has been talking about on a couple of podcast appearances, and really how it's added a lot more context to how I think about AIP, the overall product, and the roadmap for growth that Palantir has. And then so we're going to keep going from there. I like how it implies there's going to be at least 1,000 videos. Yeah, probably. 1,000 videos is what? How many days in a row? Well, 1,000, but 3 years, more than 3 years. Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing. That's how we're going. Seth Roth, hello. Turkstein, we're going to party like it's 1999. I love it. All right, so let's look at the price action for today, and then we'll get a little bit deeper from there. Let me pull up Webull, and then let's discuss what we've got going on here. So let me present, share screen, and this is what we have. So if we go to Palantir, now one of the things I want to say about the price action today is that it truly was phenomenal. We hit a high of $20.24. So we actually ran past $20, very short-lived, but the fact that it happened was just pretty incredible to see that actually happened. And we burst through 20 again. We were at 728, 2024. So you know, 190% up, or sorry, 204% up year to date. Nvidia is up 214% year to date. So in terms of stock performance, if you have been a Palantir shareholder, you've actually done very well this year. Even if you bought a little bit higher than 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, you're up. If you bought at 10, you basically at a double, which is pretty amazing. After hours, we're at $19.62. The big thing about today's price action movement is that we didn't retrace from $19, which was so interesting to me. I didn't expect us to hold 19. In fact, I personally thought that it was going to crash below 19 because 19 was kind of one of those things. We're like, all right, we got to 19 and then it gets sold off. But there was enough momentum that was being held up that for some way, some reason allowed the company to be able to stay above, or allowed the stock to be able to stay above $19. I think the lowest we got today was like $19.38, maybe $19.28. And then we just rebounded and we stayed pretty much in a channel from $19.80 to $20.20 for the last couple hours of the 9:30 to 4 a.m. market, 9:30 to 4 p.m. market. Now, the interesting thing is the reason we're down after hours, and as you see on the left side of my screen, everything is down: Amazon, Apple, Disney, TFC, the regionals, Uber, Lyft, Robinhood, AMC, is because the USA got its credit rating reduced from AA to AAA. And so as a result of that, because of that credit rating decline, which I'm going to share on my screen right here, it's been a macro event that's pretty much destroyed, not destroyed, but you know what I mean? It's definitely hurt the markets. And it was really interesting to me because the last time this happened was 2011, and the market tanked 15% after hours with the S&P, or sorry, the next day. And so it was really interesting that the credit rating has that big of a deal. Now, Janet Yellen came out and said, look, this is not that big of a deal. It's a rating agency that doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, she has her own agenda. She does not want the market to be spooked off the fact that we got the credit rating decline. But what it essentially means is that the United States is seeming as a entity that is likely to default if you borrow from them, which is not good, obviously. And that means our credit rating is bad. Now, our credit rating is still one of the best in the world. It's just got downgraded a little bit. And so the downgrade we got a little bit, took the entire, the S&P hit 454. We haven't seen 450. We didn't even see 454 last week when JPOW was talking. Maybe we saw it for a couple seconds. So it was actually one of those macro events that might affect us in the morning. Futures are down right now, and that's why Palantir came down as well as we saw it. So that was a little bit of the price action there. So that's the price. Let's talk a little bit more about selling. And what do I think about selling and how do I conceptualize selling? So I did a tweet today that I want to share, and it kind of summed up my thoughts. I was actually at the gym. I went to the sauna today in the gym, by the way. And I've never been in a sauna. So it was hot in the sauna, but it wasn't as hot as the Palantir stock actions today. But it was pretty hot. And in that sauna, I was sweating. And so I wrote this up right after I got out of the sauna because I just had this thought. But this is basically what I wanted to say. I said, look, let me tell a story that'll help influence how I think about this, since I've seen a lot of questions about selling. And then anyone please feel free to share your thoughts on this below. I got to speak to a fund manager that manages $100 million here in New Jersey 2 months ago. I'll actually just tell you the story rather than reading it verbatim. And basically the fund manager, he's just like super upset about the stock price action. He's like really annoyed. This is right after Q4. Stock went from $10 to $7 because the gap profitability wasn't enough for the street. And we're sitting at $7. His firm has millions of shares, an average of $5, and since 2018, right? They've been investing for a long time on the private markets, and they got invited to FounderCon back in October. So they obviously know the company pretty well. They were really upset about the stock price action, and he's complaining to me for like over an hour, just going at it, talking about how bad it is. And then I'm just listening to him, and I'm like, all right, so are you selling? Like, is that what you came in to ask me about? Like, by the way, he invited a YouTuber. Me, I'm not a financial analyst. I don't have super equity skills to discuss this stuff, but he invites me over and in his fancy office, and he's just telling me like, look, like, yeah, I'm really upset. And so I'm like, okay, why aren't you selling? Because if you're upset at $7, you sell and you go, put it somewhere else, take a better use of your capital. And he smiles and he's just like, no, because I really, really believe in this company. And that's when the conversation kind of pivoted to like, why do you believe in the company? And we started talking a little bit more. And I think this is going to be very, very relevant to people that are struggling to sell or hold right now, because he feels it's a once in a lifetime company. It's a generational company. The technology can't be questioned. They just have a sales and marketing problem. And I was like, look, I agree. I mean, you manage millions of dollars. I'm a YouTuber. We both agree on the same thing. There's very little difference in how we think about it. I don't have to give a return tomorrow, and your clients are expecting a return. And so that's why you're in a difficult situation, because you've got to give a return. So my question was, why aren't you selling to give a return in a better asset? And he says, because the potential of the company is too great to ignore. And as a result of that, he said, look, when the stock gets to 20, if it ever gets there, we are going to be fighting with our clients to try to convince them to not sell. Right? Like that's going to be the discussion then, like to make sure like, hey, even though you have a 4x because you got your shares at $5, at $20, it's still worth holding. One of the junior analysts that was there was telling me like, yeah, they have phone calls with clients every day saying just like, wait, go long, give it some time. And when it gets to 20, you're going to want to, keep it going even longer. This camera's about to die, but we'll let it play out from there. And it was just really interesting what he was saying. The really unique thing about the entire conversation was that now the stock's at 20, right? And it happened in a couple of months. And I think beyond his wildest expectations, we went from 7 to 20. And I don't think he's selling the stock right now. I don't think he's selling the stock right now at $20, even though his clients could be up 400%. And it's because after hours and hours of complaining to me, he still felt this is a once in a lifetime company. This is a generational company. Let me just put the charger in the camera real quick. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'll be right back. Put this here. Okay. All right, we should be good. And so because he feels like it's a generational company, that's why he said, I don't feel like selling. And I think that's the discussion that we're having right now in the context of Palantir. Most of us are sitting on some massive gains. I mean, even me with my $15 average due to the amount of shares I have, I'm looking at some pretty decent gains. I mean, like this is decent money. But I have like no sweat in the world to think of selling. Like not even for a second do I think like, oh, I should probably capture some of these gains, because I just don't care. I think there's a massive opportunity. There's a generational opportunity. And at this point, after 1,000 videos, I'm beyond convinced of the potential of this company. And I think this is the one time in my life I will have this much conviction on a single stock. Because to me, it's like there will never be a moment in my life where I have this much conviction on a single stock, because I've never forced myself to do that much research on a single company. And if I've never forced myself to do that much research on a single company, there's no way I could ever have that much conviction on a single stock again. But Palantir is one of those companies. We are not scared of a down market anymore. That's also very true. And so like, even if a down market does happen to me, I'm like, okay, so this is the opportunity again for me to buy. And my philosophy has been, which is I think the philosophy that manager is using now, okay, we had Palantir at $5. It was great. It's up at 20. But if it goes back to 10, I think we really want to double our stake. I think we want to get even more for our clients because we know what the company's capable of now. Unless there is a massive thesis changing sentiment, it's really, really difficult at the end of the day for the company, for me to decide we want to sell, because I just think there's too much potential. And so I think that fund manager is looking at himself saying, now I got to convince my clients to not sell because Palantir is still cheaper than Snowflake. And it's a simple, it's such a simple question. In the next decade, do you think data is going to be more important or not? Do you think AI is going to be more important or not? Do you think companies are going to have to figure out how to allocate, resources to have structured data within their enterprises or not? If the answer to all those questions is yes, which the objective answer to all those questions is yes, you just have to be right about Palantir being a player in that space, not even the winner, just a player, much less a monopoly in that space. If they're a significant player in that space, this is not the time to sell. This is not the time to capture your gains if you have a long-term mindset. If you have personal finance reasons, whatever, yeah, go ahead, sell. But if it's really a question of you don't need the gains, you could see it go all the way back down to zero and come back down until 2030 and come back up. There is not a significant reason to sell unless the potential of the company is daunting to you. Facebook, I think, is the same example. Facebook IPO'd at $40, and I think by 2017, they were at $100. They're sitting on a 5x, or sorry, 3x, 4x, 3x, kind of same thing with Palantir right here. 3 years after it's public, Facebook about 4 years after it's public, you've got a decent return. But Facebook, the entire world uses Facebook. WhatsApp, Instagram, it's just whatever you think about the companies, whatever, but the entire world uses it. So if you bought in an IPO at 40, watched it run all the way up to 380, didn't sell because you're the world's not going to stop using it. It comes back down to 88, just a double from the IPO price after 10 years. The people that double down on that are up 400% in the past couple of months. And so it's just so interesting to kind of conceptualize what does it mean to sell a company that I think is going to be around for a long time. To me, it's a simple conclusion. I think the Tesla people feel this exact same way. Do we think there's going to be a world in which EVs exist? Yes. Do we think Tesla's going to be the major player in that world? Yes. Okay. So what's the discussion on selling? Why are we even thinking of this? And I think that's the same thing with Palantir. So for those that are struggling to sell Palantir, for those that are thinking, should you capture your gains, you have to do what's right for you from a personal finance perspective. But from how I think about it, I don't care if it goes back down to 10 or 5. First of all, it's going to be very difficult for the market to send it back down again unless there's a macro event that sends all stocks going back down, because there's just way too much support at different levels of people that want to buy the stock, institutions that would love to buy the stock now that they've seen all these different product updates and things of that nature. So if it gets back down there again, it's going to be hard to get to really attractive price levels. But if it gets to 11 or 12, then it would be exciting. If it goes higher than 20, then it's just a fun ride that you're going to be on for a very long time. Do I think some valuations can get ridiculous? Yeah. If it's at $30, it's a bit ridiculous. Even $25, a bit ridiculous if the growth isn't there. But that doesn't mean necessarily take some off the table and try to time when to get back in, because you just have to be really good at doing that. And if you're really good at doing that, sure. If you're not really good at doing that, then it's tough. Then it's tough to do that. Your camera needs Enovix's battery. My average is 798. Yeah. And so again, it's just, there are people who are, commenting me, DMing me yo, I have an $8 average, $7 average. I'm up 40,000, 50,000. And I'm like, that's great. And 50,000 sounds like a lot of money, but imagine it's 2030. The world still needs companies like Palantir and you're up 400,000. It's just a different ballgame. It's just a fundamentally different ballgame, especially if you have a low average. And holding through that volatility to me is important. So for me, selling is not even a discussion, because there's no need for me to take those profits. Now, if something personal comes up in my life and I absolutely need the money, then yeah. But for me to try to time it right now, because I think 20 is overvalued, which I do think 20 is overvalued, and try to go back in, it's just hard. It's just really, really hard. And I'd rather not have that mental stress. And I think that fund manager as well. Remember, that fund manager, if he sells his $5 average Palantir at $20, I don't think he's getting $5 again. And if he doesn't think he's getting $5 again, could you imagine in 2027, if the stock's at $100 and you have a $5 average, he has a 20x. He has a 2,000% return he can give to his clients versus a 400% return, which is good, but a 2,000% return is really good. And he can probably raise a lot more money after that, because he was right on one company that he got super early and he held while it was still cheaper than Snowflake. So it's just very hard for me to conceptualize selling that easily from here. Mike Oxford says, I don't think it's going under 10 again, but the valuation is way too high for there to be enough realistic upside for me to buy a piece of Palantir. I feel the same way about Shopify. And I agree. I agree with this. I think that the valuation is a little bit stressed right now. And we had a long conversation about that last night on the stream. If the growth isn't there, 16% year-over-year growth cannot justify some of the valuations we're seeing right now. It's just not possible. And so Q2 numbers are incredibly important for that simple fact that if the growth is there in Q2, the valuation starts to get a bit more justified and more players, more institutions start to get excited about the stock. But until that happens, then it's not an easy buy at $19, $20, but it's also, to me, not an easy sell, because Nvidia at 290 was a quote unquote easy sell to people. And look where that's got them. I'm not saying Palantir is Nvidia. There's a lot more dynamics there, but it's the metaphor of holding a company that is generational, if you believe it's generational and not just giving it up. Again, I said this on the live stream yesterday. I have friends who are up 500 grand in Nvidia because they just don't sell, because like, why? At 250, 270, 280, when everyone in the world is shorting it, they're like, nope, I know where it's going. I know where AI compute is going. And I'll sell at 500, 600, but 200. It's only $1 trillion company. AI's got a lot to go. Data's got a lot to go. AMD earnings were phenomenal today. If AMD earnings are amazing, what do you think Nvidia's earnings are going to be like? AMD's building out data centers. Nvidia's building out tons of more data centers. Like, this is a game that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over the next decade, not smaller. And this is where I think long-term investing actually makes a lot of sense to me for these companies. Crazy thing to me is Palantir's up year to date as much as Nvidia right now. Fun times. Yeah, 204 versus 214%. Just insane. Austin says, I'm literally up more than 250K. Wow, not selling. I'm 1,000% embracing that fair value before financials. Enter curve is $10.50. Palantir is a wild card that I cannot afford the opportunity cost of selling. And see, that's crazy. Someone who's up 250,000 that is not selling should say something to the people that are up 10,000 and thinking of selling. It's like, I don't think this is a pump and dump like it was in January 2021. This is not the same world we live in. January 2021 was different. Interest rates were zero, and AMC was $70. GameStop was $350. Like, when that's happening, of course, you're going to get every single stock to the moon, and it's going to be ridiculously overvalued. And that's a top that you sell. That's like, yeah, that makes sense to get out of this market. But I think we've been through that. We were flat for almost 2 years. And now we've entered into a secular trend around AI that if the number that we got the premium before we proved the numbers. If we prove the numbers, we justify the premium, and we may get a little bit overvalued on the premium just because the numbers are decent enough to validate the narrative matching the execution, which means stock goes up, people buy more, algorithms trade it even better versus selling it off. And so to me, I just don't think that will be the case. I don't think it would be the case that it would be a good argument to sell right now in a market that has just too much going for it. Someone says holding over 16,000 shares. That's amazing. Austin says Palantir's first mover advantage in AI will equate to a minimum $300 billion market cap, and that's without continuously innovating themselves into a new TAM, not a zero-sum game. Plenty enough commercial government value. Karp in Q2 2022 earnings says he still sees the company is on track for $4.5 billion in revenue by 2025. That would imply a 30% CAGR. Now, I know they haven't mentioned that since Q2 2022, so it's been a year. But if they revise guidance back from 16% to 30%, if we somehow get that revised guidance, it's going to be pretty exciting. I mean, then the street's going to evaluate it on an even different level. It's probably going to be even more overvalued, but it's going to be way more appropriate for the justification that we're going to get. The other thing here is what was I going to say? Karp overvaluation, the justification for it. I was going to say one more thing about the valuation, but the point is $4.5 billion in revenue by 2025 would get us that 30% CAGR. And if we get there, then it's going to be a really, really interesting game. One thing I remember what I was going to say, they might be sandbagging the guidance, particularly because they want to do that. They've been known to do that a lot. I mean, I think all the estimates are saying maybe revenue comes in at 550 million versus 532 this quarter, given that they tend to beat by a decent amount every time. So one of their arguments might be sandbagging for the sake of doing it so that they don't have the expectation of growing 30% CAGR, but they internally have the expectation growing 30% CAGR. And if that's the mindset of the company, then I'm all for it, because you tell the street we're only growing 15%. You surprise with 30%, even though in your head you always knew you were going to try to grow 30%. And the street rewards you even more because you were able to grow that much. Remember, the street doesn't like Palantir. The DPO, IPO, black box company, all that stuff. The street is still not warming up to Palantir. Institutional investors are only 33% of the holding. So until the street really warms up to the company, they've got to perform on the numbers. And that's why Q2 is going to really matter, because Wall Street still doesn't fully love the company, is not willing to give them a massive premium if the numbers aren't good enough to justify it. That is the problem if they keep sandbagging this upcoming quarter. Yeah, and the sandbagging might go into Q3 as well. Crossroads says exactly. I think the sandbag is because the government revenues are lumpy and they'd rather not count on those to hit projections, under promise and over deliver. Yeah, that's another big thing. I mean, government, again, CARP said they CAGR'd 30% government growth for 10 years, but some years was 0, some years was 70% growth. But it CAGR'd on average 30%. So I think he kind of feels the same. Like, these government deals are not easy to get, but they will get them, but they can't guarantee they're going to get them, even though they kind of can guarantee, but they can't legally guarantee. So you can't say 30% and then deliver 22% because you didn't get the government deal. It's better to say 15%, get the government deal, gives 27%, and then the market's more happy. And so I think they're actually playing a smarter game from that perspective versus a dumber game in terms of the guidance. ET says, gonna need sandbags when they're overflowing with cash when they turn on that spigot. Yeah, apparently this word spigot was used a lot in Finance Junkies. It's the thing that turns on the water or something. I think it's a very interesting word. I'll just say that. It's a very interesting word. 4.5 billion is sandbagging too, let's be honest. So here's the problem, right? I kind of think I agree with you. 4.5 billion is kind of sandbagging, but then in the back of my head, I'm like, that's 30% year-over-year growth. So that can't be sandbag. Like, or if that's sandbagging, then we're expecting 40, 35, 50% year-over-year growth. Like, in the next 2 years, by 2025. Right now, this year, we're trying to end at least 2.3 billion. That would be 16% year-over-year growth. And so that's why Q2 is so important, bro, because it's not the thesis breaker, but it's one of those things that shows us, are you on track to get to these numbers that we think you should be getting to get this valuation? And I'm just torn on if I think they're going to be able to do it or not. And so we'll see on August 7th. But as of now, I have no clue if they're going to be able to figure it out. They can sandbag, but guidance has to make the street interested in this earnings. I agree. Guidance on Q3. And AMD's guidance came lower today, but the street was still excited because at least their revenues didn't miss and their EPS didn't miss. But yeah, guidance has to be incredibly important in Q2. And if they can pull a SoFi and what did SoFi do? Increase their adjusted EBITDA guidance by 78 million or 68 million, it's game over. It's going to be a really fun earnings day. But I just don't expect that big of a guidance increase. And if it does happen, then it's going to be amazing. If there's ever comes down to 14, I'm going to average up. Yeah, and again, my thoughts on it coming down is that I think at every level, there are people willing to buy it, especially at these levels now that we've seen how retail's piled in. And so 13, 14, 12, I don't think those are tops like we had previously a year ago where it was declining from those levels. Now they're retracing from much higher levels that we think is way more justified than it was last year, given all the products that have come out and all of the case studies we've seen. And so I think those dips get bought. I think those dips get bought really easily, but it's a question for, if we see them get there. Okay. So next thing I want to talk about is this ontology stuff that Sham came out with today, or in that podcast. So in the podcast, I did a video on this. You might have seen it, you might have not, but basically Sham gave a really unique point of view for why Palantir rolled out AIP. Essentially, they saw LLMs were going to be the next evolution of how people engage with information, especially in the enterprise level. And so by Q4 2022, so think about like December, November last year, they got really excited about what the potential of LLMs would be. March, ChatGPT goes mainstream. April, AIP comes out. And the reason Palantir was able to get AIP out and running, even though they really didn't have a AIP product, is because they built the one thing that contextualizes what makes an LLM even usable in the first place. And that is the ontology. I hate to bring up the word, but Sham spent 30 minutes talking about that word in his latest podcast. And the podcast link is in the latest video I have in the description. Basically, he said the whole context for an LLM is to give you proprietary answers contextual to the reality of your organization, because the models are trained on the data that is proprietary to the organization, to the enterprise. The only way to do that is if you have structured your data in a way that allows the infrastructure of artificial intelligence tooling, which is what AIP essentially is, to be able to digest that data and then serve you the business intelligence that you're looking for. That doesn't happen without an ontology. It just made it was really it made it so simple for me to understand today, like even in an easier way than I've ever understood it before. Palantir got excited in Q4 2022 because they had the buns and everyone was excited about the hot dog. And they're like, the hot dog is useless. ChatGPT barred hallucinations are useless unless you have the bun, unless you have the ontology that contextualizes all of the necessity, the idiosyncratic, intrinsic necessities that are relevant towards your data actually being useful. That's what Palantir spent 20 years trying to build. And it's really hard to build. It's not easy. And they built it. And that's what Foundry's main selling point was. Now you layer AIP on top of that, which is this semantic layer of neural language processing, right? You text that can be understood almost instantaneously, then derive business intelligence from that. It is relevant to the organizations that have a structured view of their ontology. And this is exactly what the Novartis CEO was talking about, the big pharma CEO a week ago on CNBC. He says the reason we're able to implement AI for enhanced drug discovery is because we have a structured ontology that Palantir built for us 5 years ago. So all of our data is in a pipeline ready to go to be fed into an LLM to now be able to create the business intelligence that would expand the productivity of the company. And so that's where I'm starting to get a lot more excited about LLMs, AIP, and what Palantir has built, because that ontology is so unbelievably crucial. And so the question that I'm having right now is, do other companies have this ontology? Which, yes, they do, but do they have it to the extent Palantir does? And are they able to integrate it into a business to the extent Palantir is able to integrate it, to be able to have a competitive advantage and moat over the other companies trying to build semantic layers on top of that data? And I don't know the answer to that yet, but my gut is, and the research I've done is telling me, like, those companies don't have it yet. And again, some of the Dan Ives report kind of confirms this, with other CIOs talking to Dan Ives saying Palantir is a reference point. There's a lot of different clues here and there to say Palantir is kind of the only people that have this right now. And so that's why it's making me even more bullish on their ability to sell AIP into the marketplace, because they've spent the past 2 decades building the back end for what makes AIP relevant. And CodeStrap was even talking about this on Twitter, that you can't have an AIP without an ontology. And so that's why when he's seeing demos at AIP, by the way, he's going to be on the weekly, I think, in a couple weeks, so he'll be back on the channel. He's seeing these demos are insane, because the businesses that are using these demos actually have ontologies that help their AI systems, their LLMs, become effective. IL6. I mean, how much do we barely even talk about that? That's another dimension for why this is really important to think about to think about Palantir. Joseph says Dan Ives gave Palantir a gift. Sandbagging would be throwing it away. It depends on how they sandbag. If they sandbag certain numbers but don't sandbag guidance, I agree. So it depends on how they sandbag. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, if the numbers don't live up to it, then it's not going to be good. The words have a brain. Exactly. The words actually have a brain when you have an ontology constructed with an LLM. I plan to create a Palantir-focused YouTube channel. Yeah, you absolutely should, Blake. That would be super awesome. I know you're a video editor, so you could take all my content and edit it up if you want any content for that. So that'd be awesome. I see Palantir like I see a GPS built in the security apparatus and now used by everyone every day. There's no way it's not going to be huge. And see, that's the thing. It's like, if you believe there's no way it's not going to be huge, is selling at $20? Does that make sense? That's the question. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being naive about this, but I just don't think this is the time where you want to risk not being in the stock, especially if you have an average that is just like pretty phenomenal for the stock. It's like, I don't know if it's time to get out of it, especially if you're just going to time and try to get back in, because if you don't get a chance to get back in, it's going to suck. So I think that Sham interview was just absolute gold today. And you guys should definitely see it. The video I did is a 3-minute clip. If you check out the video I made, it is a really good explanation of what the ontology is in relation to that. Imagine the taxes you have to take profit as well. Yeah, I mean, if you're up big and it's short term, the taxes are going to be annoying. So I'd rather pay the taxes over the long term when the gains are actually, reasonable enough to appreciate the tax spend I have to do. Zocold is on 30 after earnings. Look, bro, 30 after earnings. I'm 30 after earnings. I'm trying to say something ridiculous I would do, but I don't want to say how ridiculous it would be, because if it actually hits 30 after earnings, then I'm gonna have to do it, and I don't want you guys to hold me against it, but I might have to do it. Imagine selling Apple in 2001 or 2011 and bragging about a 3x. That is exactly the comment. That is, Josh hit it on the nail on the head. Like, if you had, like, this is not a trade, in my opinion. This is not an options bet, right? This is not an expiration date on this. These are shares. And so if you've got shares of Apple in 2001 or 2011 and you're up 3x, it's Apple. What is Apple going to do? They're going to innovate. They're going to work. Now, Palantir hasn't gained the validity to be compared to something like an Apple because the numbers aren't there yet. But that's the whole point of risking an investment on a high growth tech company, is like you're betting that it'll turn into that. And by the way, Apple in 2011 like wasn't fully there yet, right? Like the iPhone was there, the iPad was there, but 2015 is when you saw Berkshire, kind of get in. That's when they really started taking off. And so in 2011, you're selling because you have 3x. 2001, you're selling, really holding from 2011 to 10 years later, 2021. That's the gain that you change your life with. The gain is not, I bought Palantir at DPO in 2020 and I sell in 2023 when it pops because ChatGPT goes mainstream. That's not the narrative I think anyone should be wanting to embrace, especially not at a $40 billion market cap. I mean, imagine selling Apple at a $40 billion market cap. That doesn't mean Palantir is going to be $3 trillion like Apple, but I think it'll be more than 40 billion over the next 10 years. I have a little inkling on that. So if that happens, that happens. 30, Amit cuts hair off. Bro, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. 30 after earnings and I get exercised. Bro, 30 after earnings, it's going to be wild. That would be wild. Granted, I don't think that's happening, but if that happens, that'd be crazy. If you sell, you have to find another place to put that money to, and I don't have one currently. I agree as well. That's the other issue. If you sell, you have to find another place to put that money. And I mean, like, where are you going to put it? Where is the best place to decide, okay, here's a better opportunity for me to allocate this capital, especially in this market? I mean, what big 7 company do you want to get your money into that's so exciting? If you sell off Palantir, I just don't see it. Shave your head. Bro, one day, I think with a buzz cut, I wouldn't look horrible. No, I would look horrible. I shouldn't even entertain it, bro. Because you know me, I'll do it. I'm not afraid to. I shaved off my beard live on New Year's Eve. If you haven't seen that video, type in New Year's Eve shaving my beard. Amit, I did it, bro. Honestly, it was the best decision ever, though, because that beard was. I look back on that beard and I'm like, I can't believe I spent 6 years of my life with a beard that big. Like, that was a bit ridiculous, bro. That beard was a bit ridiculous. There was no reason I should have kept it that big. And it made me look way fatter than I am because it adds so much weight to your face. So I probably shouldn't cut off my hair, but the beard was a good decision to do. $30, Amit needs to tattoo my name. Oh my gosh, bro. I'll do that for like $3, bro. I don't need $30 to do that. I'll just type in, I'll just tattoo annoying on my arm, and that'll represent Kelly. There's the tattoo right there. $30 after earnings is extremely unlikely to hold, but anything under 30 is possible. Amit should do the temporary dye to put his hair blue and temporarily get a green laser eyes for Twitter. Bro, remember when Bitcoin was going crazy and all those people had the red laser eyes profile pictures? All of them took it off once Bitcoin hit like what did Bitcoin hit? Bitcoin hit like 20,000, 15,000. Like I remember Anthony Pompliano, the biggest guy with the green eyes. Yeah, I remember also everyone had .eth. They were like, XYZ.eth. Everyone had that in their at name. Yeah, they took that shit off too. So it all went away once the stock came down. And it'll probably come back when Bitcoin goes back up, but it is funny to see if that happens. Amit, did you ever get profiled with that beard? Yes, but it was like it was weird, bro. It was I got profiled once at an airport. It wasn't that crazy. It wasn't insane. I don't talk about it a lot because, like, the thing about profiling, bro, it's a real thing. Like, it absolutely happens, but it didn't happen to me enough or with the intensity for me to feel, like, threatened or scared about it or be like, oh, my God, the United States is so racist to me. Like I think it happened once or twice, but it wasn't insane. It was just a little bit extra checking or whatever. And I don't even know if that was because of my beard or that was something else that happened. So I don't talk about it like that. Now, I do know it happens to other people, but my mom was always more worried than me. Like, I traveled a lot in high school. Like, I was in the airport every other weekend. Forget every other weekend. I was there every weekend because I was traveling for debate competitions, and like internationally as well. So my mom would really get scared when I would go to the airport because, she's like afraid of what TSA would do. And I just didn't care. I'd be like, they're going to like my beard. They're not going to discriminate against it. They're going to think it's hot. So they're going to think it's sexy. But I came to my senses in January this year, and I was like, you know what? This beard is too big. We got to get rid of it. I get profiled as a pothead. Bro, little do people know. That's crazy. All right, let me get my hat, guys. Let me be right back. My hair is annoying me a little bit, coming near my eyes. So I'm just gonna put it in the hat and then go from there. Amit is not that woke. Yeah, bro. You know, one of the things that's changing about me as I get older is like that woke shit's annoying now. It's not that I used to be a lot more woke back in like 2015, 2016. It's like now I'm just like, this shit is annoying, bro. This shit's like actually annoying. So I just don't even like, I don't know, bro. I guess when it comes to me, I don't like complaining that much anymore. And I think there's valid times to complain, but I believe so much in just like keep hustling. So many people have had it so much worse than you. You got to keep trying. That doesn't mean you have to be unsympathetic to people and their struggles, but that doesn't mean you go all in on a narrative that because of XYZ, the world is against me. It's like, all right, you can believe that if you want, but no one fucking cares. And so if no one fucking cares, you're not going to be able to keep moving from there. Amit Spencer, Amit alt-right. Could you imagine, bro? Amit alt-right. LMAO bro's got basketball shorts on. You saw my shorts? Bro, I live in basketball shorts. I'm thinking of getting rid of my entire closet and just having gym shorts. And I got these awesome shirts, these sweatshirts from Amazon yesterday, gym sweatshirts. I've been going to the gym because I got that new subscription to the gym. It's amazing, bro. I like wear that all day. Like I literally think that's going to be my wardrobe for the rest of my life. It's just like amazing. It's just amazing. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, those are kind of my core thoughts on everything going on from there. I think that selling Palantir right now is, for lack of a better word, not a smart thing to do. And it's just like, what is your time horizon? If your time horizon is you want the money right now, okay. Like Chicken Genius is the best example. Guy sells Palantir at $9 from 7, makes $100,000 in profit. Amazing. If the guy had just waited a month, he would be up 400,000. If he had waited 2 months, he would be up $1 million. But he didn't because, you know, he was short-term trading it, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. But it's like, you know, he has videos from the past where he's talking about Palantir as the next generational company. And then you're getting rid of it at $9 because, yeah, you made a nice trade at 7, but you didn't actually think it was a generational company then if you got rid of it at 9. If you sell, you just don't believe in it anymore. Even if you've got expenses to fulfill, you don't care enough to hold it. You don't care enough to do whatever you got to do to hold the stock, which is fine. But for me and all the due diligence I've done on Palantir, it's come to the point where it's like, why would I sell if I've done this much research to the point where I believe it's a generational company for a very long time? And so that's why I'm continuing to keep it going. Who keeps texting you? Bro, no one is texting me. Like, just because I look at my phone doesn't mean I get a text message. Okay, Kelly? And there are 0 girls that are texting me. So I've been trading AMD, sold it all after hours today. It popped nicely after hours. So that was good. Good, nice. The definition of woke has been so distorted. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I think woke in 2015 was actually way better than what woke is now. There's just so much political correctness that's got into it. But in general, I think trying to define your existence through one perspective is just not a smart thing to do. And it's like no one cares at the end of the day. It's like you got to find purpose and meaning outside of the thing that you want to complain about. And so for me, I'm going to complain about being an Indian in America with a big beard. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. Like, it's not worth complaining about. It's worth trying. I'm going to complain I didn't get into Harvard. I got rejected off the waiting list. I'm going to complain I didn't get into Stanford. Like, no, like, but like, I just don't care. I want to work. I want to keep trying to do different things. And there's always an opportunity. You just have to work your fucking ass off to try to figure out that opportunity and see what you can do. And that's pretty much it. What other questions do we have for me? Need to see a midget jump shot. That's crazy. All right. So if you guys want to leave, that's fine. For the last 10 minutes, I'll just do questions in the chat. It doesn't have to be Palantir related. It could be anything. But that was the conclusion of today's Palantir stream. Not selling. I think it's a bad idea to sell right now if you don't need the money. This is a once in a lifetime company. So take it as you will. I just think it doesn't make sense right now, given all the potential that there is. And number 2 is the ontology discussion has hypercharged my belief in Palantir's ability to implement AI infrastructure at scale at enterprises, which means I think it's going to be a very, very successful product over the long term if they can figure out the sales and marketing, because they've got the back end technical stuff built, given what Shyam Sankar was able to articulate on the podcast that he recently went on. So those were kind of the core 2 things I wanted to talk about, and that's the main discussion here. All right, last 10 minutes, we'll do some questions, and then we'll be out for the day. Is Palantir worth buying at $20 right now? No. And as soon as it goes to 25, someone's going to clip this and be like, look, Amit said, no, don't buy it at 20 bucks. Okay, that's fine. But the growth is not right there right now to justify it. You've got to believe the growth is there Q2. I'd rather pay 22 bucks, 25 bucks in Q2 when the growth is there versus guess that the growth is going to be there and take a gamble, because it's literally gambling if you buy it before earnings. You have zero like context for if the growth is going to be there. You have some context that the growth is there, but you really can't put a outside of Karp's statement about we have a crap ton of demand. You can't guess that the growth is going to be there. And so that's why I think it would be not smart right now to buy it at this price. Dunkin' Donut lady reacted. Amit, that is my question. So for those that don't know the context behind this, I'm giving away 2% of my income every month to basically things that I see have a real impact. And so today was the first day. I didn't go to the Dunkin' Donut lady. I went to a small pizza shop, and this is a pizza shop that, quite honestly, the pizza's not that good. So it was empty, and it's empty because they're struggling as a business, but I also think it's empty because the food just isn't that good. I've had pizza there a couple times. It's just not that good. But nonetheless, I wanted to come and help and support the business. So I came in, and there was an immigrant at the table, like flipping a pizza. I definitely knew he didn't own the place because I've seen the owner before. So the owner wasn't there, I guess. So I gave him the $100 and I was like, all right, this is for you. And he was pretty shocked. He was just like, for me? I was like, yeah, for you. It's $100. And he was just like, he's like, why? And I was like, I'm just trying to, donate a little bit of my income everywhere to small businesses and help out. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So I'm going to do the Dunkin' Donuts thing either tomorrow or the day after, but it was pretty good. I mean, $100, and hopefully that makes his day, and hopefully he has a little bit more money to do something with. And it feels good doing that type of stuff, man. It's really important. So it was fun to do that. What is the biggest deal Palantir is in line for? The NHS contract, $611 million. If the NHS contract, which I think Palantir is getting, I mean, I will risk my reputation or whatever you want to call it, some credibility, and I will say this is a done deal. Palantir is getting the shit. Now, if it doesn't happen, something catastrophic had to happen for Palantir to fuck up that bag and not get that deal. But I think it's going to happen. And so if it happens, it's going to be really good. I love this so much. Are you writing it off? No, I'm not writing it off. I don't have a receipt from the guy to be able to prove it's tax deductible. I probably could get away with it if I wrote it off on my taxes, but no, it's a couple $100. I'm not going to try to write that off. To me, I just didn't want to donate to the charities because I don't know where the money's going. I want to give it to real people that are doing real things that I know could benefit from. Like that $100, I know that guy's going to get some benefit from it. And so that's the thing that I want to do. And I'll do it 2 times a year. So in June, I'll take 2% of my income I made from January to June and then donate. And then at the end of the year, December, I'll take from June to December, take 2% of that and then donate as well. $100 every day. No, it's a set amount. It's 2% of what I made and then splitting that up. So today I gave 100. Tomorrow I'll probably do 20 or 50 to someone else, and then eventually I'll run out of it. So I thought you were doing it every day. No, I don't have $100 to give out every day. That's maybe Matt Money can do that. Not me. Will Fitch's downgrade on the U.S. economy fix stocks for the rest of the week? I think this downgrade is not good. For those that don't know, we got a downgrade on our credit rating. It's definitely not good. Futures are down massively. SoFi lost all of its gains. So my portfolio was up yesterday because of SoFi. I was looking at that's a big number. That shit's going back down tomorrow. As soon as SoFi tanks to $9, it's going right back down. So, yeah, but now granted, Janet Yellen said it's not a big deal. She's the downgrade is ridiculous. It's kind of stupid. So, hopefully it doesn't have a massive effect. In 2011, it tanked the S&P 15% when we got a downgrade from Standard & Poor's, which was a rating agency. Hopefully it doesn't, but futures are down and all stocks collapsed after hours when they saw that. $5 super chat. Thank you so much to this person. Don't subscribe to Gimina Colia if you hate investing. Is that the name of your channel? Gimina Colia. Okay. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Been watching all of your videos in regards to Palantir. Wish my hospital, big institution in Philadelphia, would start to incorporate it. The healthcare opportunity for Palantir is unbelievably massive. And it's something I don't think people think about enough, even though I know we all think about it in the community, but the outside, Wall Street doesn't get it at all, what Palantir is doing in healthcare. And that's where I think Dan Ives is correct, that retail has a little bit more of an edge in terms of a asymmetrical understanding of the opportunity for Palantir, because you got to really do research to see how Palantir is affecting healthcare. And once you do the research, it becomes so damn obvious how they're affecting healthcare institutions. They put out another clip today with Tampa General Bay Hospital. I mean, Snowflake's Databricks is not doing the type of shit Palantir is doing in terms of transforming the hospital. Hospitals are definitely using Snowflake, AWS, to store their data, but data warehouses are a fucking commodity. They're not going to matter in 10 years. It's that simple. And unless Snowflake and these other guys can reinvent themselves into something that does matter, I just don't think they stand a chance against companies that are providing true value. And so the market's going to recognize that when Palantir puts up the numbers. But again, if Palantir doesn't put up the numbers, none of this stuff matters. And that's the hardest part right now about holding the stock. We got to see if they're able to do that. I hope you read Jesse Dow's take on Palantir. Jesse has the correct take. He sees the RSI, which is the relative strength index on the technicals, getting pretty high as it gets to $21 to $24, that range, and he's ready to sell. And I think he has the correct take if you are a trader. If you're a trader, yeah, 21, 24 bucks with no revised guidance, it's absolutely a sell if you're a trader. Like at 21 bucks, like, yeah, it is overvalued. At 24 bucks, it's even more overvalued, especially with not revised guidance. The RSI is going to be screaming to sell it, and it'll probably come down. But if you're a long-term holder and you sell it at 24, you got to find an entry price again. And you know, if your average is 7, 10, 14, to get to those prices again, it's just not that easy. And so Jesse's correct as a trader. As a long-term investor, obviously it's a lot more difficult to do that. I'm from the East Coast and Amit acts like I'm from the Deep South. Puts me in exile. But yeah, Matt, I feel like you're from the Deep South. This East Coast thing, I know you're probably from the East Coast, but I think of you as Texas, and I think of Texas as like the South. So like to me, you're making out with your sister in Alabama. That's how I conceptualize you. That's how Southern I think you are. Sayan Sam says the biotech stocks are touting AI and drug discovery. Do you see Palantir having a role in biotech drug discovery? Yes, 1000%. So again, Novartis, one of the 4 largest pharmaceutical companies in America, came out the other day on CNBC and they said Palantir in particular has been working with us for 5 years to structure our data. And that's why Novartis feels they have an advantage over Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and Moderna in the context of drug discovery. Because again, what is drug discovery? It's not that complicated. You take billions of pieces of data points that you have from hundreds of thousands of experiments, you put them together, you do a crap ton of experiments by trying to find patterns within all that data, and then you test your hypotheses and you hope one of them is good enough to try to take it to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, FDA trials, and then boom, you got a drug. If you could streamline all of that by taking all of that data and putting it into an LLM or putting it into a predictive simulated model and then be able to hypercharge the speed at which you're taking these hypothetical experiments on these potential drugs you can discover, the time to value to find the next big drug, which is how these pharmaceutical companies are, valued, is smaller than it was before. And you need to have a structured view of your data, but you need to have an AI ML based approach to being able to streamline the approach to being able to understand your data. And so that's what Palantir is doing with Novartis. And I think Palantir is doing it with a lot of Sanofi is another company. I got to do a video about this, but this is another healthcare company that Palantir is working with in drug discovery. DuPont Therapeutics. People do not talk about that. That was a press release from December 2021. I got to revisit that as well. Palantir is working with them to do cellular-based molecular drug discovery. Like Palantir has been in this space for a long fucking time. And so that's why it's really, really exciting to see what they can do here. But they got to execute at the end of the day. Are you holding or your shares, are you selling some? I am holding. So I'm not selling any yet. You excited for 2026 SoFi leaps? That's when Nodos PSUs will come into play. Those come out in September, right? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where SoFi is in September. That's a month away. Yeah, I mean, look, I've got a lot of money in SoFi, so even if I wanted to buy 2026 leaps, I don't have that much capital on the side, maybe in September, but I got to pay off some debt too. Like I've been investing aggressively over the past summer, like aggressively. But I have not paid off some debt. So I have student loans. I got to pay off a little bit. It's not a lot. I'm going to probably get rid of it within the next 7 months. It's going to be gone. I'm just going to pay it off. Car payment, I got $3,400 left on it. Got a couple other small little pieces of debt that I have, nothing super big, but it's there. So my goal is hopefully by April next year, I should be 90% out of debt in terms of all the small things I have. And so that's why I went heavy on investing during kind of the downside in the summer. In May, June, that's when I really saw the opportunities and I plowed it in. But now I'm like, I kind of taking my foot off the gas. I'm like, now the money's got to go to work and hopefully these things play out over the next year. Now I got to pay off some of this debt. And so I'm trying to get rid of that debt as well. Texas is not the South of it. We are South of it, very different, more like the Wild Wild West here. Yeah, I know. You got Houston, you got Austin. It's a more lively place. All the tech companies are moving to Austin. But Texas still feels like the South to me. You know why? Because I was in Denton, Texas for like summer camp for 3 weeks. Bro, Denton, Texas felt like I was in a cowboy movie. Like I went to a McDonald's and I swear I saw a cowbell. Or not cowbell. Fuck me. I saw it. Someone's going to clip this. I saw a cowboy. Not a cowbell, a cowboy. And I saw a cowboy and I was just like, yo, am I in the... And there was like 70 acres of land and then one McDonald's. And it was just like, it was so Southern to me. And so that's my impression of Denton. I've been to Austin before. I've never been to Houston, but Denton, Texas is very, very Southern. $2 super chat, John. How much money do you have total in stock and cash? I'm not going to say exactly my portfolio value. I will in probably a year after some of these plays happen, so I can kind of talk about what's going on. But it's over 100K, which is very small to a lot of people. To me, I think it's decent that at 25, I got that much invested into the market, and it's up a decent amount this year. I mean, I looked at how much I was up year to date the other day, and it was just like, wow. And now all of it could go to shit. All of it could go to shit if we have a bear market and stocks crash and all that stuff. But look, it's up. It's up, and Chris has helped me a lot to be able to get those returns, and now we just got to see the narrative play out over the next couple of months. And so I'm keeping a really keen eye on the economy. The strategic oil reserves, fucking Biden today says they're not going to fill them up, and I'm like, Joe, why aren't you filling out the strategic oil? Like oil's at 80, they could have filled them up at 60. The strategic oil reserves help balance the supply and demand of oil and kind of put a little bit of floor on the price. And they're not filling it up because they don't think they're getting a good enough price. I'm like, do you want to pay $100 if you don't want to pay $80? Because you didn't pay $60. And so some of these things I'm looking at along with credit tightening, it's all these things I'm keeping in track because as much as the portfolio is doing well, it could all go to shit if the economy goes to shit and then everything goes to shit. And then I could be back down massively. And so I'm keeping a really strong eye on what's going on. And my hope is that we are in a bull market, but I don't think we have proven we're in a bull market, especially with inflation accelerating just a little bit. And yeah, so we're going to have to end up seeing what happens. Hopefully it's not too bad. Biden leaves me speechless too. I was so surprised, bro. I was so surprised. I was like, why, bro? I mean, how come you guys never realize how many shares you have? It's 3,000. I've said this many times. That's the only reason I don't keep answering it because I've said it so many times. So it's 3,000. I think Palantir is a no-brainer for businesses, organizations that operate in high-risk environments, for example, military, law enforcement, hospitals, and nuclear power. Again, so replace Palantir with Facebook in 2012. I think Facebook is a no-brainer for business and organizations that need to advertise, and boom, the sentence is done. And then there's like 100 million businesses and organizations that need to buy ads, and Facebook is the cheapest way to do it. Boom. So like that's where I'm comparing Palantir with Meta a little bit in this context of selling at $20. I'm like, do I think in the next 10 years, as you says, John, there's a crap ton of organizations that are going to use Palantir, not for advertising, obviously, but for something that's even more important. And will that pay dividends in terms of growth? Yes. The answer is yes. And so the execution is the risk here. And that's the bet you're taking as an investor. You get to bet in 2012, Facebook would be able to figure out how to get 3 billion people after they already had 700 million people, but they did it. They bought Instagram, they bought WhatsApp, they figured the shit out. Zuckerberg, did whatever the fuck he had to do. And now as a shareholder, you are returning very well. And so I think that's the same exact thing going on here in the context of Palantir. I hope we crash all in Palantir leaves. Honestly, a crash and then Palantir leaves would be an amazing thing that happens. Biden's too busy going after the guy that filled up the SPRs at all-time lows. Bro, I don't get it. Like, I really don't get it. This oil shit, let me look at oil prices right now. Oil prices, I think we're at 80 a barrel. A little bit. Yeah, 84. We're fucking 84. 84. Like, it's about to be 1984 if Biden doesn't fucking figure this shit out. Like, the state's about to take over if we don't get inflation. Like, 84 is not good, bro. It's up 15% it's up 14% in the month, basically 14.7%. Like, come on, bro. That's not good for inflation. Let me go to Trueflation right now. See what they're saying on energy. Energy down or up? I know food and beverages came up a little bit. We saw a little bit of decline. Yeah, it's ticking up just a little bit. I mean, not a ton, just a little bit, but if we have inflation reacceleration and top line CPI data or core, it's not going to be good. Now, granted, I don't think it's going to happen. And if it does happen, it's going to be so minimal. I don't think the Fed could raise rates off of it, especially because we're declining a little bit going into August, even though July we had an uptick. But it's definitely not great for the markets, bro. They're going to be spooked out of that shit. And I don't want them to be so upset on that. I remember not to attach your pride to your portfolio value when that shit starts to take off. Speaking from experience, 100%, 100%. Like yesterday, I was up a lot of money. Today, I was down a lot of money. Like there's just like you definitely feel better on the days are up. You you feel cool, but it's happened so many times over the past couple months that I've realized like there is zero emotional attachment you can feel when you're up because it'll just come back down tomorrow, and then hopefully a little bit of the gains you got from the day that it went super high remain. Which is basically like Palantir, right? It went down from wherever it was, but it's still in the $19 range, which is amazing. And then you keep moving forward, and hopefully that builds on top of each other slowly, and it compounds and it grows. But the days where everyone's super up and like the shit is just insane, your net worth or your self value can't be exacerbated because it'll just come back down. It has to come back down. Rio says, "Hey, Amit, longtime viewer, like all your Twitter X posts. Long story short, I have a proposition for you. I have about 800 shares of Apple owned for many years. Soon I will be selling." Okay, this is 1 out of 2. So we're waiting for a second message. This is exciting. 800 shares of Apple. So at this price, you are sitting on 800. He's sitting on $156,000. Okay. So we'll see a second comment and see what he has to ask. Just look up what happened with Cloudflare and you're going to see why Palantir will take over the world. Agreed. Cloudflare is everywhere. My startup uses it. Everyone uses Cloudflare. Cloudflare is like, it is the back-end architecture for a lot of the internet. My self-value is my World of Warcraft. Okay, Rio, we'll wait for your second comment to ask from that. Leave Biden alone. His son moves fast and has many girlfriends to keep in his track. Bro, the Hunter Biden shit. I'm not even trying to get political, but this guy has gotten away with some shit. I mean, you know that kid in like the class that like gets away with shit? Hunter Biden is the kid that has gotten away with some serious. Oh, Trump got indicted today, bro. Trump got indicted. I forgot to even mention that. That's crazy, bro. Trump's indicted. So he's now having to deal. I don't even know what that even means because he's not going to jail, right? That basically means he could go to jail. Like, I don't know exactly what indicted means. I was trying to listen to some coverage on it, but I didn't get a chance. So, yeah, that's and what's his name? Ramaswamy came out today and says if he becomes president, he'll pardon Trump, which is he's like, hey, Trump supporters, if you can't vote for him, vote for me. So, oh man, it's just politics is insane. That's the one good thing I like about my content. I'm not a political YouTuber, and by the way, those guys get way more views than stuff because like everyone cares about politics. At the end of the day, like politics, like if I ever build a massive media company, politics is one of those angles. Either politics or sports. You go down politics or sports, you have an in-baked audience ready. Like I picked stocks and then I picked Palantir. And so to me, it's the most exciting thing to make content around, which is why I've been able to do it for a couple of years, right? I just get so deep into it and I get creative and I enjoy it and it's fun. But trying to make videos every day about Biden and Trump, it's just like, it must be like draining to try to do that. So I'm happy I don't have to do that. Rio says 2 out of 2 to buy a house and move the movie to Tesla Palantir. If you want to live stream, screen share when I do live, we can. Yeah, that's interesting. Look, the question I would have, Rio, is how many, what's your average on those Apple shares? Because, if you have a really healthy gain, I obviously think the growth is in Tesla Palantir, not in Apple. But Apple's a unique company because Apple, I was saying this today on my morning open stream, Apple figures out how to survive and thrive and innovate. And I think Bank of America has them at a 240 price target. Like Apple's one of those stocks where I don't even know if it's worth selling, just given how many times they're able to figure out every single decade how to reinvent themselves over and over again. So selling Apple for Tesla and Palantir, yes, logically it makes sense, but Apple is Apple, and it's like I just don't think it's the easiest decision to get rid of Apple for something like Tesla or Palantir. But if you're looking for like a 10x, yeah, you're not going to find that in Apple. It's going to be a lot harder versus Palantir. I mean, it could happen in Apple, but it's just going to be a bit more difficult. I will literally never sell Apple. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to sell Apple. Politics is draining. All right, it is, bro. And you'll get the views talking about politics, but I don't know if mentally and also here's the thing about politics: you have to pick a team. Like I've obviously picked a team, Palantir, but I can be skeptical about Palantir, and as a objective analyst of stocks, even if you have a bias, you're supposed to be, objective and critical. If you're critical of your party, like you get eaten up, and so it's really difficult when you're Trump or Bernie or whatever to like take the opposite side of their mainstream position because they've built a cult around their positions. And so if you don't agree with Trump on his energy policy, because let's say you believe in solar and Trump doesn't believe in solar, and now you're all clean energy, but you're still a Trump supporter. It's like a weird nuance you have to live in as a content creator. And it's just tough, bro. It's just tough. So politics is a draining angle to make content. What was this other comment we had? Can we talk about chances of Palantir going to 15? What would be the best price for selling puts so that stocks get assigned? It's a good question. I think $15 to $17 strikes if you're actually trying to get the stocks assigned to you is reasonable. It could definitely go back to 15, 17. That's totally reasonable for Palantir, even after earnings. So if you want to sell cash secured puts and try to actually get the shares, yeah, I think 15, 17 is reasonable. If you want to be a little more conservative and go with 13, 14, you're going to get less premium. That's fine as well. Maybe there's more risk you don't get the shares, which is okay. But 15 to 16, 17, I think is super reasonable to be able to get the shares. Even 18, to be honest. Selling $10, $9, $8 cash secured puts, you're not going to get premium, and you're definitely not going to get the shares. I mean, maybe you get the shares, but then the whole company has to tank 50%. So yeah, I think 15 to 17, those are reasonable strikes. If you think it's going to 15 after earnings, wait until after earnings, then sell. I agree with that as well. That's what you want to do as well. What did Natalie say? It's sad that we can't have better candidates to choose from. Crazy and arrogant, or crazy and racist. Yeah, I don't know, man. The candidates we've gotten for presidents, like Joe Biden should not be running. I mean, it's like Joe Biden should not be running for president. Like the guy is like it. It's just even sad to even talk. Like he's old, man. He's got to running the country at 85 or what? Like that's tough, bro. It's not easy. Like put in Gavin Newsom or something. And I don't even like that guy, but Gavin is like probably going to be way more energetic and all this. But he's running, and the Democratic establishment will not let anyone else run. So I guess we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, Nick Piercy says, any Amazon shareholders? I know Matt has a big position in Amazon. I think Amazon's going to do fine. They might tank because they've run up a lot this year, but I think Amazon's going to be totally fine. And so we will see where Amazon is. What is Kelly saying? Kelly's saying some shit about me. Hi, Kelly. Or Zoho says, I work for free. Good looking out, though. The value I get from the channel is my payment. What did Kelly say? I hope you're paying Zocold. He deserves that income sharing. Kelly's so obsessed with money, bro. That's Kelly's issue. She's like texting me today. She's like, why am I not getting paid by Twitter? I'm like, because you're not getting enough impressions by Twitter. Like you're not getting paid by it. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. Which finance junkie would be the best president? Okay, objectively speaking, I would be the best president. Like if we come on. Come on. I would objectively be, out of all the finance junkies, that's the last question we'll end it on. I would objectively be the best president. I mean, like, there's just not even a question of it. Like, does anyone have a dispute to that? Does anyone think Vitaly or Carlos would be better, or Chris? Bro, Chris is gonna trade the national economy. He's gonna do spreads on the economy, and he's gonna be in and out so quickly. Like, you can't trust Chris with the economy. Carlos is gonna be talking about Enphase all day, give all the subsidies to solar. Vitaly is just gonna be DCAing into Enphase the whole. Like, come on. Like, objectively, in terms of the communicator that can get the country to be riled up around a single cause and excited, like, It's me, bro. It's like, this is not a question. This is really not a question. Anyone who disagrees with this is just insane. Like, admit objectively for bad. Yes. Like, we don't have to be humble here. Okay? This is not a Kendrick Lamar song. We don't have to be humble here. I would objectively be the best president of the United States of America out of the finance junkies. It's just that simple. It's that simple. Amit has a sneaky ego. Hands down, it's you. Look at this. Joythi Desai. I think that's Indian name. Joythi, thank you for being here. Indians holding it down. It's me. It's me. Look, I don't even like Vivek Ramaswamy that much, but he's the best candidate. And I'm not saying that because he's Indian, because he can fucking talk, bro. He can really communicate. And I don't even agree with him on all of his policy stuff. And he was trying to say climate change isn't real. Elon shut that shit down on a Twitter space. Elon was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, if you're going to say climate change is not real, don't say that to Elon Musk, who has dedicated his life to trying to stop climate change. Like, just like that was a bad political move he made. But this guy can communicate. This guy can, and he's made money in the private market, so he understands business and stuff. Like, that would be me, bro. I don't know if I would be Democrat or Republican. All I know is I would communicate, and I would get motherfuckers to vote for me. Like, that shit would happen. That shit would definitely happen. Yeah, see, this is the reason I can never run. Opposition is going to search for dirt on you through the Finance Junkies episodes. That's the other thing that's going to happen. They're going to go through all my episodes and see. They're going to find the period title episode, the infamous period title episode, and they're going to try to frame it like when the Hollywood Axis team came out for Trump. And they're going to be like, look at him, he's such a misogynist. And I'm going to have to be like, actually, that was funny. You don't fucking get humor. And I'm going to have to convince people it was actually humor. It's going to be a hard hole to dig myself out of, but I will be able to do it. Definitely will be able to do it. So we will see what happens. Okay, I'm dead. I'm ending the stream on this. Amit would ring the Liberty Bell at market open. Oh my God. This is the best comment I have ever seen in my life. This is like I need to rethink any comment I ever make for ever. This is the best comment ever. This is the best. This is great. All right, we got to end the stream there. We got to end it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll be back tomorrow talking more about Palantir Market Open. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:20 a.m. Hope you have a great first day of August, or it was a good day. It is Tuesday. Signing off for Tuesday. And that's pretty much it. That was a great comment. Could you imagine I make a mandatory market open as I'm president of the United States? How would the markets react to the president of the United States ringing the bell at market open? Like, it would have to be bullish. I'd imagine they'd be like, oh, this guy likes the stock market. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night.